Hey everyone, this is Rob of the Actors Workshop, and welcome back to a new episode of In the Abyss. So, I have a special guest, as you can see, my awesome son Tyler. And as promised earlier when we did the episode with Amy, we would have Tyler on in the month of October to do our top 10 list, and that's what we're going to do today. Now, I know you guys are wondering, where's my video for the last week of movies I've watched during the month of October and the theme, etc. Well, since I have a couple more days till October, I figured I would extend that episode for the extra day. So I'm going to finish out my movies for October on Saturday, and then next week's episode will cover those movies, 8, 9, 10 of them, and then also the theme of the week. So in lieu of that video for this week, we are going to do our top 10. So, as I spoke before about horror films, there's several genres that go inside the genre of horror films. You have the sci-fi horror like Alien and that kind of stuff. You have slasher type films like that you had a lot in the 80s with, Slumber Party Massacre and that kind of stuff. You have the monster movies, the Draculas, the Frankensteins, the Mummies, etc. And then you have, the kind of horror suspense thriller that you get with movies like Psycho and things like that. So when we were talking about our rules, we said the rules are there ain't no rules, just like Craterface said in Grease. And so we just did our top 10 in any genre of horror. So here we go. Tyler, would you like to say anything before we get our list going?
No, I have nothing to say.
You don't want to say hi to the fans out there watching us?
Hello, fans. Thank you for joining us. It's a blessing.
Thank you. And as you can tell, Tyler was blessed with the size and the hair, but I was blessed with the smarts. So, it all evens out and it's good. All right, so here we go with our top 10. Tyler, you can start. What is your top 10 movie?
Okay, so my number 10 is the first Friday the 13th. The one without Jason.
Okay, don't give it away. That's a spoiler alert. Some of our viewers may not have seen a movie that's 40 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, even though they
Kevin Bacon's in it, and it's great. I mean, it's classic, It's just classic 80s,
so,
like you were saying.
Tyler is not a normal kid in the way of movies. Him and his friends love movies, and not only do they love movies, they love the older movies. So you will be surprised. I mean, this is a kid who loves silent films. He loves Charlie Chaplin. So, you're not going to get a lot of the modern day movies. You're going to get stuff like you just got with Friday the 13th. So, good. Okay, my number 10, and I know this is cheating, but I'm going to do it anyways, is a tie. And the reason I'm doing it as a tie is because, number one, they're both part 3s, and they were the first ones of the series I had seen, and I saw them in the movie theaters. So they kind of count as one. And that is Friday the 13th, part 3D, and Hellraiser part 3, Hell on Earth. So it was tough to get rid of one of them, but I wanted to rep both movies. And because I'd seen them and under those criteria, I had to go with Friday the 13th part 3D and Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth.
All right.
All right.
Nice.
Number 9. Good times.
Number 9, I think this is the most recent one on my list. Halloween from 2018. We went and saw that together 2 years ago. It's it's solid. Classic Michael Myers, stomps a dude's head.
And it was the return of Nick Castle as the Shape.
Yeah.
First time since the original Halloween, so you kind of get that feel of that Michael Myers thing. So that's a good pick. I went with Madhouse with Peter Cushing and Vincent Price. I really struggled of which Vincent Price film I would go with. I really like The Fly. I really like The Invisible Man Returns. But I like Madhouse because they're actors in the movie. So it kind of ties into what we do as actors. They're actors, and it's the makeup and the whole 9 yards, and then it's legendary Vincent Price and Peter Cushing. Nice. Maybe you should watch it.
Maybe. My number 8, I think this is also a fairly recent one, is A Quiet Place with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt.
Ooh, good pick. I didn't even think of that one. That's a really good one.
I really like that one. It was solid. I jumped a few times.
And it shows you don't need dialogue to drive a movie, right? It's behavior, it's the situation, it's the ideas, and so that's a great example. It's a really good movie. I went with Misery. Kathy Bates, James Caan. I remember when I first started going to DVDs, it was one of the first DVDs I've purchased. I don't have it on Blu-ray as of yet, but it's one of the first purchases I did get on DVD. It's really good, and I think everyone would agree it's probably Kathy Bates, her best role. She knocks it out of the park. She's sketchy when she does the hobbling, breaking his ankles and stuff. It's really scary. Really well done. That's my number 8.
Are these? Did you just watch that one recently?
No.
No. Okay. Number 7, I have The Invisible Man, the original one from 1933, I think.
Nice.
And that one I watched when I was like way young. I think like 8 or something, and it's it's a solid picture. It's a classic.
It's good. All right, my number 7 is Salem's Lot, which is a vampire film. It was actually a TV movie starring David Soul, who played Hutch in Starsky and Hutch. James Mason, and the vampire of Barlow is one of the scariest vampires. Very kind of Nosferatu-esque in the... Did I say Nosferatu? Nosferatu-esque with Count Orlok. He has the teeth in the front, not the fangs on the side. He's more zombie looking. I don't know if my Salem's Lot shows... Yeah, there he is. So you kind of get the idea of why he's kind of sketchy. But I remember watching that as a kid. I loved Starsky and Hutch, so when I knew David Soul was in it, I was sold, and it scared the shit out of me. It was just, it's unbelievable. I highly recommend it. It's a great watch.
My number 6 is the original Halloween from 1978.
Ooh.
I mean, that's like the OG slasher.
Is it really a slasher though, or is it more like?
I guess not.
Suspense?
But I mean, Jason and all them came after Michael Myers.
That's true. That's a good point. Yep. My number 6 is Brian De Palma's, and if you guys have been watching my videos, and I know you have, I love Brian De Palma, especially the early stuff. Dressed to Kill, Michael Caine, Angie Dickinson, Nancy Allen. Just a great horror suspense thriller. Keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time. I have it on Criterion. This knucklehead needs to watch it. It's one of the ones he has not watched yet. Absolutely love it. It's great. And the Criterion one is the unrated one. So you get a little bit longevity with the gore and stuff like that. And it opens with the awesome shower scene. And you know, you can never have a horror film without a good shower scene. Just saying. You're 18 now. We can talk this way.
That's true.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Ooh.
That was probably my favorite when I was a kid.
My favorite when I was a kid.
Yeah,
loved it.
It was it's good. I mean, he's pretty creepy, the creature, and it's well made. Nice job.
I tried to only go with 2 of the Universal Monster movies, so I had to take out a few of those. Yeah. My number 5, although I do love Creature of the Black Lagoon, my number 5 is The Invisible Man, which Tyler talked about a little earlier. Claude Rains, it's just well done. You know, he's nuts, he's crazy, the laugh, the whole 9 yards. I love the whole series of The Invisible Man. I love The Invisible Man Returns, The Invisible Agent, which I watched a couple days ago. We'll talk about next week. I just love the whole thing. But that original Claude Rains, phenomenal, as you covered earlier. It's a classic.
Number 4, I have Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead.
Ooh, good one.
Bruce Campbell.
You got it.
It's pretty corny, but there's something like charming about it, I would say. And I need to watch the TV show and some of the more recent stuff, but I really like that one.
You know, and I'm the one that told you to watch it last year. It's really good. And as I said last week, I was watching Night of the Living Dead, and you really get a feel for where Sam Raimi got the idea for The Evil Dead. You kind of get that zombie feeling, and those are a couple that I really had right outside the top 10 because I'm not really a zombie movie guy, but I do like The Evil Dead a lot. And they do get cornier, Evil Dead 2 and then Army of Darkness, but they're classics and they're must-watches. But they were just outside my top 10 along with Night of the Living Dead. My number 4 is The Exorcist. And I know in some people's list it'll be even more in the top 3, maybe top 2. But for me, it's just right outside that top 3. It's a classic. Linda Blair, you know, she was so good as Reagan, the possessed girl, that she had a hard time for the rest of her career having any other job but doing Exorcist movies or Exorcist spoof movies like Repossessed and things like that. But I mean, that whole movie is just scary as hell. And then they released the unrated version with the scenes they cut out with the spider walk and stuff. It is really eerie. And we've talked about this in class. When you add religion and like demons and stuff like that, and you mix that kind of stuff,
It's freaky.
it's really freaky.
Yeah.
And there's movies I left off my list like The Prophecy with Chris Walken, where you have that religion and angel thing, or kind of stuff like that. And The Exorcist, I think, is the ultimate freak movie when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, top 3 now. My number 3 is The Shining, Stanley Kubrick. I mean, Jack Nicholson, unbeatable. Come on, the dude's insane. But that movie's so freaky, and I mean, come on.
I knew it was gonna be on your list.
It's a must-have.
And I did not put it on my list because I knew you would have it on your list. And when I was going through it, it really wasn't a top 10 for me, although it's really good and Nicholson is fantastic. I was talking about this today in class, or yesterday in class. When it comes to these kinds of lists, depending on the day, the top 3 for me can change. And instinctively, when I did this list, this is the way it came out. And if you ask me tomorrow, it may be different. If you ask me another day, it may be different. But my number 3 is the classic Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
So
it's as good as it gets. It leaves you on the edge of your seat to the way in, throws you for a loop at the end. It's really well done. And we talked about this, but they just released the special 40th or 60th anniversary of it. I got the Steelbook, but it has the uncut version. And usually I don't like uncut versions. We talk about this quite a bit because it's just deleted scenes. But this is actually the way it was released in the theaters when it first came out. And if for whatever reason these scenes were edited down for later releases in the theater, and then of course for VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray and stuff. And so for the first time on media, you're getting the real theatrical version. And I like seeing the movie the way it was intended, not the way that they ended up changing it because of the way they can do stuff with media. So at number 3, it's Psycho for me. Janet Leigh's great. Anthony Perkins, creepy is all get out, and it's just a great movie.
My number 2 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The
remake?
original one?
Oh,
No,
okay.
the original one. That movie is so freaky. I mean, it's just like a couple of typical teenagers just going for a drive, and they end up at a slaughterhouse. And
The rest is
history.
cinematic history.
Yeah, that movie. I mean, it's a cult classic.
And it has that
Insane.
iconic scene where he's just spinning around
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
at the end,
with
yeah.
the chainsaw. Yeah, it just has those. It's one of those movies where it has those iconic moments you can think about. It's kind of like we were watching Nosferatu the other day, and the
Yeah.
shadow
Yeah,
scene where
going
you
up
have
the
him
stairs.
going up the stairs, and that's that legendary shot, or the legendary shot of him standing on the boat, and he's just standing there. Those are shots that you've seen before and don't really realize how iconic they are until you watch the film. So that's a great pull. For me, at number 2, 1931, Bela Lugosi. Good evening, I am Count Dracula. He is the reason why every Dracula after him in cartoons, like you watch Hotel Transylvania and you listen to how Adam Sandler does the blah blah, he's imitating Bela Lugosi. Or, the Count from Sesame Street, 1, 2, he's imitating Bela Lugosi. And we've talked about this in class. Bela Lugosi just sounded that way. That wasn't a voice. That wasn't a Dracula character. When you watch Bela Lugosi in movies, he sounded like that. But he was so iconic as Dracula that they attached the way he sounded to Dracula. So all those animations and all those different things all modeled themselves after Bela Lugosi. It is unbelievable, really well done. Looks unbelievable on Blu-ray. You guys need to check it out if you haven't seen it. It is one of the original Universal monster movies, and it's just a great, great, great film. It was really hard for me not to put that at 1, but we all know what's coming at number 1 for me.
My number 1 is Psycho, as you were talking about. I think it was your 3rd. And like you said earlier, I mean, can't predict the ending with this one. At least I couldn't, and it really threw me for a loop. Overall, I mean, it's pretty much, I feel like if you went to a horror movie film class, this is what they would be like, hey, make your movie like this one.
Yeah, it's really well filmed. Hitchcock really knew how to do that stuff. He's a legend. His casting is great. It's just really well done. Janet Leigh was the original Scream Queen until her daughter got hired for Halloween, which I'll segue into my number one, Haddonfield High School, 1978. What? Halloween's my number one. Anybody that knows me knows I love the Halloween movies. I love Michael Myers. I have a life-size Michael Myers Halloween, what we do, right? Statue on our front window every Halloween. Just love it. And kind of going back to what I was just saying about Janet Leigh, her daughter, Jamie Lee Curtis, ends up being the next Scream Queen. And the two of them are legendary for Psycho and Halloween. But I just love the way John Carpenter did this movie, from the music to the shots to the idea. To me, and I've said this a lot, Michael Myers is like Jaws. It's more of the idea of the shark than it is the shark itself. And it's more of the idea of Michael Myers than Michael Myers himself, right? When you hear the piano and you kind of get the feel that he's coming, it's freaky, and everybody else does a good job around it. And you know what's funny, and we talk about this a lot in the videos and in class and stuff like that. Whenever you add kids, right? When you have a villain chasing kids, or you watch like The Omen and the kids, the Antichrist, or in The Exorcist, like we talked about, the kid is the one possessed, or Quiet Place, the kids, right? All of those. Whenever you add kids or you add religion, it just adds a sense of freakiness or tenseness or whatever you want to say to the movie. But Halloween gives you that feel. And then you have kids in it because, she's babysitting, Laurie's babysitting the kids. Yeah. And, you want her to protect the kids, but at the same time protect herself. And it's just really well done. It's a classic, and it never gets old. I think I have 4 different versions or 3 different versions of it on Blu-ray. I have 3. It's just, you have the regular Blu-ray, then you have the anniversary edition, then you have the box set, and it's just like, I'm a sucker for that stuff because I love it. But yeah, Halloween's my number one. So there's our top 10. Is there any that you were on the cusp of? Because I've talked about a few that I thought about that I didn't go with.
Well, there were a few that I weren't too sure about, like Predator. I was like, because I feel like that's more of a thriller, but I really like Predator. But other than that, I don't think so.
Well, like I said, Alien could be considered a horror film.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I watched King Kong 1933, and I wasn't sure if that fell in line. But then on the back of
back in the day, it was horror.
Well, it says on the back here, it says the greatest of all horror films.
Yeah.
So if it's saying that on the Blu-ray, then I think it gives me permission to count it. Or The Thing, right? I just saw to see The Thing, right? It's kind of sci-fi, but it is a horror film. So there's so many to go through, and there's so many great ones. But when you do a top 10 list, you have to really narrow it down. I kind of like how you did a little bit of the modern stuff with the older stuff. I think the most modern I have is like 1980s Dress to Kill. Salem's Lot's like 79. Halloween 78. I guess Friday the 13th and Hellraiser Part 3 are in the 80s. So those are my most recent ones that I chose, whereas you have Quiet Place. And
I was also thinking a little bit about It, but I don't think I like that movie enough to.
But is it the remake or the original with Tim Curry?
I kind of like them both equally.
Okay, that's fair.
They have their.
I haven't seen the new one, so I wouldn't know. But
new one's pretty good.
And we didn't mention Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. That was up there for me too. American Werewolf in London. That was another one that I really like. That could have made the top 10 easy. So there's so many to choose from, but this is our top 10. So as I always ask you guys to do, get on the comment section, list your top 10, and make sure you go 10 to 1. List them. I want to see what you guys know. I know Angelica out there loves American Werewolf in London, so she's going to have that in her top 10, maybe her top 2 of all time. Cora, I want to see what you've got. Brad, I want to see what you have. Dan, all of you guys out there that are watching these videos. Richard, you're a new guy. I know you're watching these videos. Put your list down. Let me see what you guys have. And people who are not in the workshop that watch these videos, put your list down. I'm curious to see what you guys have. And we'll share them with Tyler and see how they compare. But I think it's a fun little thing to do for Halloween. So put them down there and we'll check them out. Anything else for you?
No, I'm good.
All right. Don't let the calmness and the quietness fool you. He's a big personality and he's being tamed for this video. But we appreciate him being on. He just turned 18, like I said. For those who have known him since he was a little kid, he's growing into this wonderful young man, and it was fun to finally get to do the video with him. So I appreciate it, Tyler. All right, you guys, I will see you next week. Have a happy Halloween. Have a fun weekend. And like I said, we'll be back next week for the final string of movies from October. Have a good weekend.